Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Gift Okete. In our major story, Abuja Court of Appeal affirms President Goodluck Jonathan's eligibility to seek re-election. Also in this program, federal lawmakers rule against perceived plot to remove Jaga, reject further postponement of polls. The federal government admits owing oil marketers 185 billion naira. Schedules emergency meeting as fuel shortage bites harder. And outside Nigeria, Israeli Prime Minister warns United States over Iran nuclear deal. Good to have you. Stay tuned with us now. Details of the headlines and other stories. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has declared President Goodluck Jonathan eligible to seek re-election in the forthcoming presidential poll. It held that as such as the president had only taken the oath of office as elected president only once in 2011, he was qualified to stand for election into the office a second time. The lead judgment delivered by Justice Dajijo Yahaya was unanimously consented to by 4 other members of the appeal panel. Justices Akumolafe Wilson, T.Y. Hassan, Ekanem Joseph and M. Mustafa were the other members of the panel. The judgment was in the appeal filed on April 16, 2013 by Sarakos Njoku, challenging the verdict delivered by Justice Madashiru Oniyangi, then of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, on March 13, 2013. Njoku had filed the appeal after Justice Oniyangi dismissed his Njoku's suit and held that President Jonathan was eligible to contest in 2015. Affirming the trial court's judgment on Tuesday, the 5-man panel of the appellate court held that President Jonathan could not be said to have earlier taken the oath of office as president twice, as he became president upon the death of President Umar Yar'Adua, not through election. The House of Representatives on Tuesday ruled against a perceived plot to remove the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Tahiru Jaga, before the March 28 presidential election. It also insists that any further shift in the general elections could result in crisis in the country. The lawmakers took this decision on the basis of a motion by Representative Ali Hamid, who called on the federal government and other stakeholders to desist from interfering with the composition of the present INEC leadership and the rescheduled election dates. Hamid urged the House to resist any attempt to remove Jaga, but Deputy Leader Leo Oga argued that the motion was speculative. The House subsequently resolved that the status quo as regards the elections be maintained.
Security situation in the country occasioned by the Boko Haram terrorist activities, the House notes that the initial postponement of the general elections for 6 weeks due to the security concerns related to the Boko Haram insurgency has further heightened the tempo of pre-electoral violence, alarmed by the possibility, threats, and insinuation to precipitate actions that would cause further alteration to the status quo arrangements and regulation of the general elections, concerned that any alteration to the status quo arrangements in whatever form at this crucial stage would invariably lead to further postponement of the date of elections, further concerned that such threats to tamper with the status quo may take several forms, including but not limited to illegal removal of the current INEC chairman.
This motion, clearly, as good as you may hear it, is totally speculative. You have not been able to quote or tell us precisely what actually is happening. And where we sit down and we start taking speculative motions, I think at the end of the day we may draw some unnecessary conclusion. In the body of the motion, I did not hear any specific identification or a clear position. And I think it is extremely important that we don't just start speculating for unnecessary speculation. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody is interested in removing Jega. Because at the end of the day, we want a free and fair election. Hold on, please. Let me land. Hold on. Let me land. That is the prayer of the motion. Now, when you start...
Those in support of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it.
A coalition of civil society groups working has expressed concerns at the rate politicians and their supporters are demanding the removal of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Tahiru Jega. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room says any attempt to force out the INEC chairman could pose great danger to the 2015 elections and democracy in general. It said in a statement that the demands for Jega's removal are in violation of Section 157 of the 1999 Constitution, which guarantees the independence of INEC. The Civil Society Coalition, however, said it was gratifying to know that President Jonathan has again maintained that he had intention of removing the INEC chairman. It now wants the president to make it clear that no backdoor attempt to remove or undermine the INEC leadership will be tolerated by his administration. Akwa Ibom State Governor Godswill Akpabio is convinced that the People's Democratic Party would win the March 28 presidential election on the first ballot. He also boasted that President Goodluck Jonathan would win over 90% of the votes cast across the country. Akpabio said this at the end of a long-dawn strategy meeting at the presidential villa attended by PDP governors and governorship candidates.
The reality is that the party is strategizing on how to not just win election, but ensure that we win peace. It is very clear now that the opposition is in disarray, and I'm sure you have all seen that, because propaganda can only take you up to a limit, after which the reality becomes the norm. Today, Nigerians are much more aware of what the PDP administration under President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan had been doing. And I want to commend not just the president, but also members of the Federal Executive Council who have opened the eyes of Nigerians to know that so many things have been done in different sectors of the Nigerian economy. And of course, it was as if people did not know these things, and because the opposition took over and they kept saying PDP was doing nothing, PDP was doing nothing, and yet in 4 years of the president's tenure, this first tenure, he has achieved far more than any president had ever done in the history of our country. We are very proud of the achievements of the PDP, not just at the federal level, but also at the different states. And I can tell you something, that if you want to do a roll call and then bring state by state, pick the opposition best state in Nigeria and compare it with the best state of the PDP, and you will see that we tower above the opposition in all ramifications. So the next election in 2015, particularly the election of the 28th of March, will be about performance, will be about issues. And Nigerians have since gone above the level of tribalism.
Another PDP governor is exuding confidence about the party's electoral chances ahead of the rescheduled elections. Governor Gabriel Suswan of Benue State, like his Akwa Ibom counterpart Godswill Akpabio, is confident that the ruling party will win with a landslide. He spoke with State House correspondent after a separate meeting presided over by President Goodluck Jonathan.
And as a senatorial candidate, there's no way that I can be campaigning for my seat alone without campaigning for that of the president. You know, we have issues. In all political parties, there are issues. Different candidates have different issues. There are no universal issues across, you know, the length and breadth of the party. And so it is not true that people are not campaigning for the president. Yes, there are minor issues here and there, but those issues, like I said, you observe that since yesterday and today we'll be meeting. We're meeting because we want to be in charge, we want to be abreast. PDP is going to win this election landslide. There's no two words about that. Forget about the noise and the propaganda. We're ready and willing, and all that we've done today, like I said, we've properly calibrated ourselves to win this election. Nothing is going to stop it. And so there's no issues of nobody campaigning for the president. We are all campaigning for PDP and all the PDP candidates across. Even if names are not mentioned, people say that vote for PD from House of Assembly to the presidency.
As politicians continue to strategize ahead of 2015 general elections, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has urged Nigerians not to vote for President Goodluck Jonathan due to his alleged failure to fulfill promises made to them during his first term in office. Fashola made the appeal during the commissioning of Agility Maiden Bridge and roads in Koshofe local government area of the state. Abiola Luwole has more in this report presented from our studios.
Residents of Maidon Agility came out in their hundreds to welcome Governor Fashola during the commissioning of the 300 meters long Agility Bridge and 7 adjoining roads in the area. But before cutting the tape to signify the official handover of the roads to residents, Fashola told residents not to fall for what he called the dollar-sharing temptation of President Jonathan by voting for change as represented by the Buhari-Osinbajo ticket.
The president has not offended me as a person, but as a citizen, he has not done his job to me. For example, he has managed the economy of my country so badly that the dollar is getting stronger and my local currency is getting weaker. I'm a citizen because I'm going to vote. So it's not about what I will do, because I can't change him if he doesn't do anything in the next 4 years. This is the time I have to hold him to account. And I will vote to change him. I don't know about you.
He also blamed the current fuel scarcity on the failure of the federal government to pay fuel marketers.
The dollar is distributing to you. Tell him to go and use it to pay fuel marketers so that you can get fuel. They are only fuel marketers. That's why you see queues. Instead of distributing dollar, he didn't do the work. They have done enough. PDP, it's time for them to go. It's time for him to go.
Fashola also commissioned a block of classrooms at Ayedire Ajibola Senior High School, also in Koshofe local government.
Rivers State Governor and Director General of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council, Rotimi Amechi, has accused President Goodluck Jonathan and the People's Democratic Party of plunging Nigeria into economic crisis. Amechi explained that the PDP-led federal government had run out of cash due to its level of profligacy, as he urged Nigerians to vote out President Jonathan and his political party in the forthcoming election. The governor made this declaration in the continuation of the word-to-word campaign organized by the APC in Agbonema, Akukutori local government area. Predicted that the dollar would soon rise against the naira. He urged Nigerians to use the opportunity provided by the general election to vote in the APC for the revival of the country's economy. Amechi claims that the PDP-led government had stolen money belonging to the nation. The federal government had no funds to purchase fuel. Federal lawmaker Babajide Omoworare says the people of southwest Nigeria will not vote for President Goodluck Jonathan despite the president's temporary shift of base to Lagos State. Omoworare made this declaration at the program organized by the Osun State Council of the Nigeria Union of Journalists in Osogbo. Rashid has more in this report from Osogbo.
This program was organized to discuss various national issues, particularly politics and governance. Babajide Omoworare, representing Osun East Senatorial District, accused the president of not having any practical and pragmatic approach to the nation's economy, arguing that shifting Aso Rock temporarily to Lagos will not help Jonathan in the forthcoming presidential election.
It does not take good luck to have good governance. It does not take a nice man to run a good government. The president has demonstrated for almost 6 years lack of competence, lack of capacity to run the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We need a man that is capable. We need a man that is competent. We need a man that will save so much money in Nigeria that is being filtered away due to corruption.
In his opinion, the All Progressives Congress is the solution to Nigerians' many problems, noting that the presidential candidate of the party, Muhammadu Buhari, will fight corruption and terrorism if elected and will block all economic leakages and wastages.
In the area of security, we seem to have confidence in him. In the area, this is a man that has zero tolerance for corruption.
Omoworare running for a second term, but the primary election that produced him as APC senatorial candidate for Osun East was not without some controversies. He was, however, quick to clear the air before the journalists.
Somebody now came, gave money to some people, and they sat somewhere and they said they voted after screening exercise. Blackadash. Forget it. Nothing about it. We now did a full-fledged primaries. He had 49 votes. I had 2,193 votes.
The event was organized by the Nigerian Union of Journalists to interact with politicians as a build-up to the January elections. Rashid, CoreTV News, Osogbo.
You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. Federal government admits role in current fuel shortage across the nation. Find out more after this timeout. Please stay with us.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a woman, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on CoreTV News.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned with us. Now, if you've just joined us, a reminder of our top stories. Abuja Court of Appeal affirms President Goodluck Jonathan's eligibility to seek re-election. Federal lawmakers rule against perceived plot to remove Jaga, rejects further postponement of polls. The federal government admits owing oil marketers 185 billion naira, reschedules emergency meeting as fuel shortage bites harder. And don't forget that for more information about us, you can always log on to our social media platforms on Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTVNews. On Twitter at CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube, it's youtube.com/CoreTV with the Space News. The All Progressives Congress has threatened to sue the People's Democratic Party and its presidential campaign spokesman Femi Fani-Kayode if he fails to show proofs that Professor Yemi Osibanjo to resign for the party's national leader Bola Tinubu if Muhammad Buhari wins the March 28 presidential election. APC's presidential campaign team said in a statement that it is given the PDP and Fani-Kayode 72 hours to either show evidence of the oath taken or retract the libelous claims. Campaign spokesman Garba Shehu said in a statement that the claim is not only an attack on the integrity and the reputations of the APC stalwarts, but also slanderous and libelous. The party insists that on a public apology to Osibanjo, Tinubu and APC, or be prepared to be charged to court of law. Spokesman for the PDP presidential campaign team, Femi Fani-Kayode, is seeking 5 billion naira in damages from the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Lai Mohammed. This, according to him, is as a result of a recent statement where the APC spokesman questioned Fani-Kayode's mental health. PDP campaign spokesman denied the publication is false, and his lawyers, Hamid Raji and co., are demanding a retraction and an apology within 7 days. They said in a 3-page letter that they have the authority of their clients to enter into negotiation for 5 billion naira damages against you. The federal government has admitted owing fuel marketers 185 billion naira after paying about 320 billion naira in 2 installments in December last year. It also insisted that the fuel queues will disappear within the next 48 hours. Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala spoke on the sidelines of an agreement signing ceremony on mortgage financing in Abuja. She added that part of the debt would be cleared at the meeting slated for Wednesday.
As you know, we are very concerned about the queues that have formed. Government is very concerned about that and is working very, very hard. As Nigerians can attest, the Petroleum Ministry and NNPC have worked very hard to try and give out the message that there is no need for panic buying and that these queues will be disappearing in the closest possible time, because they are actually working very hard with the marketers to make products available. So this is something quite temporary. We sympathize with the public and the inconvenience, but I think these things will end. I think NNPC said today that within the next 48 hours, these queues should end as the supplies come in, and the NNPC spokesperson made clear that that this is due to a number of factors that have come in: disruption of pipelines and some logistical issues in transporting the oil. But as far as we know, that supplies are on their way and should be both in Lagos and Abuja and other parts of the country in the nearest possible time. So we just wanted to say that, and to clear also with regard to the financing where we are. If you recall, we had in December, both the beginning, I think it's December 2nd and December 30th, paid the marketers about 320.8 billion naira of what we owed them. And of course, we actually had, this came from the excess crude account, and we paid them in 2 installments in December, 320.8 billion. We published it in the papers for everybody to see by marketer. And so this really talks about the seriousness with which the government takes this issue of trying to pay the marketers. Since this recent pressure from the marketers, we reached agreement with them last week. We met with them last week in Lagos to talk about how to take care of the balance of about 185 billion that we have, that we are owing them. And we are, as we speak, we reached agreement with them since last week on how to handle this, that we would be issuing them the usual SDNs.
Another day of struggle for fuel continues, even as it takes its toll on the state's traffic situation. Motorists have continued to lament the current shortage of products and the rigors they go through to get the product. Patients at Jiboye visited several gas stations, and she filed in this report.
The queues remain unending as traffic stalls the movement of Lagos residents, while these motorists strive to get premium motor spirits, PMS, for their vehicles. Some buyers describe the situation as pathetic and that it requires immediate intervention of the regulatory bodies and the government.
The cost of scarcity, it has to do with the marketers. It's not political, is it? It has to do with the marketers. How do I mean? The price of fuel should go down, and they don't want to let it go down, so hopefully they will resolve it. So it's not political, believe me.
At least there's something, there are someone at the ends of the affair, so you should tell us. You don't need to play games with people when it comes to the issue of fuel.
Yes, because they just delivered fuel to them. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we waited. We saw the fuel being discharged, so we decided that it is better to wait where you are sure we'll get fuel.
There is no doubt that this scarcity could be as a result of sabotage. We wouldn't tell. But one thing that is very common in Nigeria is that the fuel scarcity has come to stay, and nobody has really come out to tell us the reason why there is persistent fuel scarcity all the time.
The Lagos NUPENG chairman, Tokunbo Corridor, while reacting to the fuel shortage, describes the scarcity as artificial, debunking claims that the product is scarce as a result of hoarding by some persons.
No, I don't believe in any hoarding. I don't believe. As I'm talking to you right now, the lifting at the depot is being rationed. When you ration products, you create scarcity. And when you create scarcity, the price hike will also come in. So if there is enough in the system, there won't be need for scarcity.
While airing the stance of his union as regards the situation, Tokunbo says,
the issue of scarcity is not emanating from NUPENG because we are not on strike. And we are not even thinking of going on strike for now. Any scarcity being experienced by Nigeria should be put at the doorstep of the government and the policy makers in the country. I mean the federal government and also the NNPC as a whole.
As the fuel scarcity bites hard on Lagos residents, others have used the opportunity to make quick money. Patience Ajiboye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
In the same development, the fuel crisis in the Federal Capital Territory has worsened in spite of assurances from the authorities of sufficient supply of petrol to filling stations. Only a few of the stations have been dispensing fuel, while a number of them are not opened. No fuel lieutenant was prepared to speak on camera, but many residents believe that the situation is taking a turn for the worst.
From what I heard in the radio, is an artificial scarcity. That the problem is from the petroleum marketers. And I don't think that the petroleum marketers should decide the fate of this country in any sector of the economy. If they don't want to, dispense the fuel, then let them, turn in their licenses and let them give it to other people who are ready to work.
I've been waiting here for the past 5 hours. Early in the morning, I came here to try to buy fuel. I met the queue. I follow up to this point. Look, you can see our bus is parked here. We are delivery people, express delivery people. We do delivery. Up to this time, it's getting almost 9 to 10 o'clock. We cannot go for our businesses. The fuel scarcity is affecting businesses. It's affecting everything about around life. So we are not happy about it. We don't even know what is happening. And again, there is no equality in the map. Some people will just come through express. This is in and this is out. Some people, I don't know if there is no equality in our citizenship. Some people will come in and pass through here and they buy fuel. And people that have been waiting here for queue for like 5 hours, they are just still standing frustrated. It's hot so much.
So devastating. I have been to several filling stations. I think about 8 filling stations. I started all the way from Nyanya to Asokoro, all over the city. I ended up here. I've been here for like 3 hours, only for me to get very close to the gate, and the days they have stopped selling. It's so annoying.
Or still on the fuel scarcity, residents of Kaduna Metropolis have accused fuel marketers of seizing the opportunity of the nationwide fuel shortage to hoard the community. Many of them told CoreTV News that made these claims against the backdrop of the position of the NNPC officials on sufficient fuel supplies. Filling station operators, however, insist that they have not been receiving enough supplies in recent times.
Of recent, last week we got only 2. If there's fuel everywhere, government doesn't have to announce it. If you can drive to any station and buy your fuel, government doesn't have to announce it. I already have my reservations even before I begin again.
Because the problem is from the top. The only thing that we the masses are facing a hardship. Because I was here since 1 hour ago.
I can only say this is an disappointment to us, because it's a country where we have oil and everything. Then the Nigerians are worrying about oil all the time. It has been happening for the past how many years, but nothing has been done about it. So I don't actually even know whenever you go around the town, there's no oil on all the stations. It's only this mobile.
Well, I have been in this queue for over an hour. I started from Junior Hospital around 10 minutes to 11 o'clock. And up till now, 11:45, I'm still here. And we all don't know the cause of this war. Maybe it's political, maybe it's any other thing, we don't know. Maybe after a few days, they will now release the fuel. It might be a political propaganda, I don't know, because I'm not a politician. It's only maybe if we can get just leaders amongst us, people that can lead us properly, then maybe things will be all right. But honestly, we are suffering. We, the laymen around, we that we are not politicians, all the things that balls back, it balls back to us, and we don't have any business.
Away from the fuel scarcity now, we go to Edo State, where carriers of the sickle cell strain and their relatives have called on Edo State Governor Adams Oshomale to urgently take action to address the issue of alleged on the takeover of the only sickle cell management center in the state by some officials of the state Ministry of Health. They made bonfires in the protest to get the attention of the state governor. Our correspondent filed in this report presented from our studios.
Speaking to newsmen on why they are protesting, coordinator of the group, Charles Edigin, says it is unfortunate that the only sickle cell management center in the state has been taken over by officials of the State Ministry of Health. He said for 13 years, the center no longer functions, while even essential drugs for patients are hoarded by nurses. He urged the state government to take immediate action to remedy the situation, which he says has persisted for 13 years.
The Commissioner for Health and her permanent secretary has ordered the administrative secretary of the Sickle Cell Center to deny the sickle cell sufferers 24 hours services. So what we are protesting for now is that we need 24 hours admission services in the Sickle Cell Center to be restored back. We have protested to the government house June 19, 2014, which is supposed to be our World Sickle Cell Day as designed by the United Nations. But up till now, the comrade governor has not done anything about it.
State Health Commissioner Erege Arenua, who drove in shortly after the calming of the tension, says the Sickle Cell Center is set up for advocacy and research, among others.
Sub-units in the Ministry of Health. It was set up mainly for research and advocacy into sickle cell disorders. It was not ever set up expressly as stated in the law establishing this center as a facility for treatment of patients. Over the years, people have allowed certain things to go wrong, and we have pointed it out to them. Yes, there's a laboratory to help in promotive aspect of healthcare delivery to our sickle cell patients. At the same time, we have one doctor who is here to help with counseling. If they have minor things, minor ailments that can be handled easily, yes, that is done. But it was never set up with the aim of creating a hospital for the treatment.
The protest and bonfire, which lasted for several hours, was later put off by officials and men of Ardean Police Division after an appeal to the protesters to toe the path of peace.
It's CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take another break and return with business, sports and stories outside Nigeria. Please stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back now to business. The federal government has entered into an agreement with private developers to deliver 10,000 housing units in 3 states and the FCT within 6 months. Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala signed on behalf of the government at the brief event in Abuja. She explained that the project will cost the developers $1 billion and will involve the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company.
Central bank rate is at about 13% now, so just slightly above that. And it's very much lower than the rates that were being offered by these mortgage institutions before, in the neighborhood of 17 to 20%. But as the representative, Mr. Heffernan from Cantor Fitzgerald said, when he started in the US, they started with an interest rate of about 12%. And it took time, over time, as the economy stabilized and inflation went down and interest rates went down, to come now to a place where they're in the low single digits. You heard him. So that's what we'll be working towards. You know, over time it will become more and more affordable to Nigerians. Okay, Lagos, Abuja, Enugu, and Kaduna. Yeah, they've already acquired the land to do that. So 10,000 houses, and then costing from 8 million to 15 million. With 20-year mortgages on them.
Refinance existing mortgages and mortgages that will come to the market going forward. Yeah. So there is absolutely no conflict. They are a primary mortgage bank. We are a mortgage liquidity facility. That is very distinct. Our roles are distinct. Secondly, in terms of our capital base, the NMRC was set up with a kick-off funding support that forms Tier 2 capital of NMRC in the region of $250 million. As a first tranche investment in NMRC, we already have in excess of 7 billion naira as our equity capital. Our refinancing activity is intended to be done through the capital market, and so every time we require to
It's time now to join Sabina Izoku for Stock Market Report. Over to you now, Sabina.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report.
Hello there and welcome to the Stock Market Report segment with me, Sabina Izoku. Equity transaction on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today as the Nigerian All Shares Index appreciated by 1.10% to close at 30,601.13 basis points. The market capitalization increased in the same manner to close at 10.21 trillion naira. In all, a total volume of 510 million units of shares, valued at 4.9 billion naira, were exchanged in 5,324 deals. Nigerian Breweries styled the gainers chart to close at 149 naira 99 kobo with 6 naira 99 kobo price difference, followed by Julius Berger, West African Production Company, Stanbic IBTC, and Zenith Bank. On the flip side, United Africa Company of Nigeria topped the losers chart with Dengue December trailing, followed by 7up, Port Paint, and Guarantee Trust Bank. Meanwhile, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings topped the traders chart, followed by Diamond Bank, Access Bank, Fidelity Bank, and United Bank for Africa. And to wrap up the stock market report, here's the currency trade for today. I am Sabina Izoku.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report.
Thank you so much, Sabina. Now to Frank Omalape for Sports Update.
And Frank Omalape, thank you for joining us on Sport News tonight. The Secretary of the Nigerian Flying Eagles team, Aliyu Ibrahim Awal, has disclosed that the team will depart for Senegal on Wednesday ahead of the match on Sunday against the host Senegal to mark the beginning of their quest in the 2015 African Youth Championship. They will also take on Congo and Cote d'Ivoire on March 11th and 14th respectively. The final group game against the Ivorians will be played at the Stade Caroline Fayoulin in Malabo, which is a short bus ride from Dakar, at the base for Group B. And now the Nigerian Premier League club Heartland has made it known through its club media officer, Kajetan Nwokpara, that the club just added to its squad 12 new players as a move to further its grip on the League Cup ahead of the 2014-2015 season. The players include Iniobon Joseph from Jeunesse Sportive of Benin, goalkeepers David Obiazo, El Kanemi, and Uchi Nwokeji, Supreme Court, defenders Wale Doyeni and Akporido Solomon, Kaduna United, midfielders Uche Odiche, Wari Wolves, and Matthew Mane, who was drafted into the main team from the Heartland Feeders. Completing the list are striker Mohammed of ABS, Emeka Okparago, Campus FC, and Waoko Chidebere. The opening match is this weekend at home against Cup defenders Kano Pillars. Well, and that's a wrap on sport news tonight. The rest of the news continues shortly.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, our 24-hour news station.
Now, outside Nigeria, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned that the deal under discussion on Iran's nuclear program could pave its way to the bomb rather than block it. In a speech to U.S. Congress punctuated by standing ovations, Netanyahu depicted Iran as a threat to the entire world. Talks on Iran's nuclear program are nearing a critical late March deadline for an outline agreement to be reached. Netanyahu insisted that he was not trying to meddle in internal U.S. politics. The White House had criticized his plan to address Congress at Republican invitation without consulting the White House, saying the Israeli leaders was trying to swell U.S. opposition to any Iran deal. The U.S., UK, France, Germany, Russia and China are seeking to reach agreement to curtail Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. They fear Iran has ambitions to build a nuclear bomb. Something Iran denies, insisting it's merely exercising its right to a peaceful nuclear power. Negotiators are currently working towards a late March deadline for an outline agreement with Iran, which would be followed by a detailed deal by the end of June. It's CoreTV Prime Time News, and just before we go, a recap of our major headlines. Well, we told you that Abuja High Court of Appeal affirms President Goodluck Jonathan's eligibility to seek re-election. We also brought you a report that the federal lawmakers rule against received plot to remove Jaga and rejects further postponement of polls. You also heard from us that the federal government has admitted owing oil marketers 185 billion naira and reschedules emergency meeting as fuel shortage bites harder. And that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for staying tuned with us. On behalf of the entire production crew, I am Gift or Get It, wishing you a very good night rest. Good night.